And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. It is not because of my Mac that was the problem. It was actually because of Epoch Cam and nothing to do with Mac. Just
Connected to an
Jannie.
iPhone,
This
connected to a Mac.
is
Is it?
unacceptable. Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
I'll always take a stab at a MacBook, dude. Until I have one day, MacBooks are not good. Until I have one, then MacBooks are the best.
One day. Okay, you know what? I'm going to start a
One day.
fund. I'm going to call it Jannie's Mac Fund. Now, I'm not going to get you a MacBook. I'm going to get you a Mac. Okay.
Oh, the big one? The nice.
Yeah, the big one. Yeah. Then tell me it's crap.
It's
And
gonna
there
be
we go.
hard, but it's
Gentle
gonna be hard.
Inflatables already coming in saying Android. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Tech Tuesday. It's Jannie with me, and you guys know me as Joe. And we are here doing our Tech Tuesday edition. And tonight it's Android versus iOS, Samsung versus Apple. What's going to happen? And we have a surprise for you guys. We are giving away something for the first time ever on this channel. Sorry, I'm doing a giveaway. I can't believe it. Do we talk about the giveaway now, or do we?
Nah, let's wait. Still more peeps are watching.
Okay, cool. So, so yes, I do believe I renamed the title to giveaway. Yes, I did. Okay,
Yes.
so it says giveaway. So yeah, and I just for the ones that are watching now, I'm doing something here. Don't know why. Giving away a cell phone. And that's all
Oh, so you said it?
No, but they don't know which one.
It's a Nokia 3310.
No, man.
The battery lasts 7 days. You can store 20 SMSs. Comes with changeable covers. You can drop it. It bounces. Doesn't mind being in water for a few days. So yeah. No software updates. No Wi-Fi. No Bluetooth.
Well, Gentle wants a Samsung. We'll have to organize at a later stage. Yes, once you go Mac, you never go back, or you don't go back. It's true. It's exactly what happened to me.
So sad.
Into it, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the giveaway, maybe halfway through the show. So,
yeah,
Jannie, we're here to talk about the age-old question: Android versus iOS. And you told me something very interesting off air. Okay, so let me explain to people as well. Jannie recently had to give in his phone. He has an iOS, he has an iPhone. He had to give in his phone, and he had to use a phone that had Android on it. And it was a great opportunity for him to see if Android is up to speed, what there's differences now. I think the last time he used an Android was years ago. And yeah, he was telling me off air that, Android has stepped it up. He doesn't have any more concerns. But he wouldn't change. He wouldn't convert to iOS. Jannie, explain to us what you mean.
So I mean, let's talk about my experience a little bit first. So my problem with Android years ago. Now let's talk about the last 12 years really, because Android for the first time released in 2008. With Android 1 on the HTC Dream, for everybody that remembers the HTC devices. And then very quickly from 2008 to 2020, we've gone from Android 1 to Android 11. And I think it's only possibly about in the last 5 years that Android, in my opinion, has started stepping up their security on the Android platform. Now, not just general security around the operating system and updates and things like that, because I think they've been really bad at that. But it's more around the software or the operating system or Android itself and how it interacts with the hardware. So Android for a couple of years went through this thing where they had all these dessert names for the Androids, like cupcake, donut, eclair, lollipop, marshmallow, etc. And eventually they kind of like dropped that now with Android 10 and Android 11. They no longer use that terminology. But I really think, like I said, in the last 5 years, and it's really also been because of some of the hardware vendors. Now, Samsung has, in my opinion, been the leader in Android hardware with what they've done with the Android hardware and how they've changed the Android operating system to interact with that Android hardware. So a couple of years ago, they released something called Android Knox. Now, Android Knox was essentially Samsung Knox was essentially a type of security measures that they used at a software level that added protection to a phone. So it really stopped unwanted or third-party applications from running when you start up your phone. When you download an application that might have done one or two things you weren't aware of. So that used to be a really big issue for me in the Android operating system. And Samsung Knox was a really good way to, I think, stop that. Obviously, device theft is a reality in South Africa for us, especially, phones gets grabbed, pickpocketed, whatever, and you end up, losing sometimes your phone. And guys, let's admit it, on all of our phones, there's a lot of personal information. And I'm not just talking about some photos or weird things that you might keep on your phone, but I'm also talking about other text information like passwords or I don't know, whatever else you guys store on your phone. Myself as well, you store some important information on your phone that might get lost. So that's a real big issue. So encryption was also something that was important for me on the Android devices and how it got implemented. And really, like about 5 years ago, I think is where Android started stepping that up. But then for me, it became clunky. The Android OS became clunky. Like, it wasn't nice for me to act with a phone. It wasn't nice for me to switch apps, swipe left, swipe right, whatever it is that you needed to do. It's just coming from an Apple experience, like Apple was just so much more natural for me. It was also at a time where I could convert my family, the IT support that I do, over onto Apple devices. And I want to talk about, how the hand-me-downs work and why I'm reluctant to hand me down a Samsung phone versus an Apple phone. But then a couple of years ago, Android started talking about something called Android One, which was a concept that they started with that was or Google themselves, from an Android perspective, stepping up the security on their devices, but from a Google level. So it's not. So how does Android work? Android is an open source operating system, right? Everybody can use it, and we can touch on that because Huawei also had their interesting ban last year with the ban and the and what happened in the US. But the Android OS, once it gets released by Google and it starts going to these vendors like Google, like Samsung or Nokia or whoever, they start putting what's known as bloatware on top of that Android operating system. So they start augmenting that OS because it is a open source OS, and they start making it their own. And with that, obviously, you get to introduce some security risks, and hackers will find these things and they will exploit these vulnerabilities. So Android One for me was an interesting concept, though, because hardware vendors like Samsung, like Nokia, Motorola, etc., they all had to subscribe to this thing called Android One. And what that means is that you get to run a vanilla version of Android. So it's the plain version, if I can call it that, that is released by Google. And they have to subscribe to this, so that there's some level of certification to this, so that plain version will run on that particular piece of hardware without the hardware vendor intervening and writing some extra apps or bloat or something that makes it work. So that kind of means that for the first time, the software vendor and the hardware vendor is working hand in hand. Now, that's something that Apple has always done in-house, because Apple's had the Apple hardware with the Apple software made to run on their hardware. And kind of with Android One is where you now have that. So any device can't have this Android One designation or whatever on it. And what I mean with that designation is, as Joe said, I did buy a device. So on the box, it says Android 1. Now I'm being confused. It says Android 1 there. So it's certified to run Android 1. And for me, that was interesting because now you don't have the bloatware on the device. So you don't have to deal with operating system being slightly slower. And you get that native experience of what Android, a raw version of Android should be. It runs all the same things. It has a similar look and feel to what we use today on a Samsung or any other device. Runs all the Google apps. Runs all the apps we love, Gmail, Google Maps, etc. So that for me was awesome. And I'm actually impressed. For the first time, the operating system is no longer something that I find clunky. And I wouldn't be opposed to having an Android device. And obviously, I have a couple of favorite devices. I don't know if you guys have seen the new Nokia 9 PeerView. It's got like 5 12 megapixel cameras at the back of the device. I think that thing must be a photographer's dream. Yes, Joe, there is 5 cameras at the back of a Nokia PeerView phone. It is freaking amazing. And it's all Carl's Zeiss optics. So it's, very nice glass lenses, etc., etc. So, yeah, I mean, for the first time, I'm not so opposed to an Android device. I actually had quite a good experience with it. But this also brings to one of the problems that I still have with Android. And I don't know, Joe, if we want to start touching on that, because we kind of started touching on that off air. But
take it away, my friend.
Go down there. So.
Oh, okay. What do you want to? Well, first, let me actually address some of the comments that are coming in very quickly. Morning Shot. I don't know if he's still here or if he's came in and left, but he said, where's my free stuff? Leave it to Ramon to only come in when he wants free things. And of course, Mr. Eleutheria has dropped in. I didn't know that was a thing.
It's a thing. It's
That's
pretty cool.
Yeah. And Gentle saying, yay, we're getting Yanni's temporary phone. More information on that a bit later. Okay, so take it away, Jannie.
One thing I did want to mention, though, is what's one of the coolest things about the old Nokias from like 20 years ago? The battery lasted like freaking 7 days or something.
I don't remember.
This Nokia device that I, now used for a few days while my phone was in for repairs, does say that the battery life lasts 2 days, and it has a little small subtext to it, and I don't really know. It's probably like with everything else switched off or some nonsense. But I did get a good 2 days out of this device twice in a row. Now I know it's been its first charge and all kinds of things. So I got my 2 days. But also I wasn't phone heavy on those days. It's not necessarily days where you're spending, 2-3 hours on the phone every day, taking 200 photos, Facebooking a lot and YouTubing a lot and whatever. So, my general use, I deliberately didn't charge it, the second evening to see if I could make it into the next day. So that was quite impressive. But this is still where I have an issue, I think, with Android phones. The problem is, if you look at the statistics, and there's a website, Statista, that tracks this, and I will paste the link in chat if the guys want to go and look. I hope it's going to come up. It's quite a long URL. If it doesn't work, just let me know, guys. But statistically, Android does have the biggest market share in terms of devices around the globe. Now, I'm not talking about numbers, because numbers, Apple has kind of like stayed between 18 and 25% over the last 10 years. But number-wise, and Android has only had like 20% 10 years ago, but right now they're like 72 or 75%. But I mean, in terms of numbers, also more people have phones today. So even if you look at that big market share, Android has a massive market share of users using their devices. One of the the good things about Android is that they could make the Android operating system run on almost any hardware. So you got really, really low-end budget phones that can run Android. Now, that's a good thing because it kind of enables a lot of people to take that mobile technology leap. People that never had a phone, that never had a PC, that never had a Nokia 2110, that just got a entry-level Android phone, and automatically they were connected to the internet. Now, yes, fair enough. It is lower-end hardware, so it's not your, gazillion megapixel camera and massive storage space and whatever, but it doesn't really matter. Somebody had technology in their hands, so that is a good thing, which makes it hard for me to say why I still, really think that's still a bad thing. Is the problem with that is that guaranteed experience, and that is something that Apple has been consistent on with for years and years and years, is giving its end users a consistent and guaranteed experience on their hardware, which is why we've always had good hardware performance on Apple devices since the first time these devices got released, and you got that consistent experience year on year on year with as hardware came out, etc. You don't have this issue where you buy a 2,000 rand or 1,500 rand. I think there's even some 1,200 rand Android devices out there, which, yes, it runs Android, it has a camera, it does everything. It just does it really slow, And that's where I have a little bit of a problem with the Android devices still. And I don't know. I don't know if this means there is space in the market for something else, like another very lightweight mobile operating system. But immediately you're also going to take those users out of what's the right word? Out of the market to engage with WhatsApp or Facebook or YouTube or whatever, or wherever some of these apps are being used on the higher end devices. It's I think that for me is a little bit of a problem, because you now going to leave these users on the lower end, dangling a bit. So that's probably where I still have an issue with it. So a lot of people are saying, what, Apple devices are too expensive. Agreed, Apple devices are very expensive. But you also have to compare that Apple device with equal hardware. You have to compare it with something like a Nokia 9 PaView or a Samsung S20 or S30 or whatever. Now, you have to compare it with something of equal and top-range hardware, because then those phones are really not that, money-wise, or cost difference, not that much apart. So, Joe, you're on mute. I don't hear you. Now I hear you.
I was testing you, Jannie. I was testing you, Jannie. Well, that's the thing, right? People always say, yeah, Samsung's cheap or whatever. Not by much. If you take a contract out, doesn't matter whether it's Cell C, Vodacom, MTN, whatever. You look at, I did it when I was looking for a new phone, just out of curiosity. I went to, I'll never go with Vodacom. I hate them. Cell C, hate them a little bit less. I'm with Telkom. I know. Oh my God, Joe, how could you? I haven't had any problems with them. So when I was at Telkom looking for a new phone, out of curiosity, I looked at the Samsung stuff, right? Tricks, we're a little bit cheaper, but only by 100 rand. It's not like it was
contract-wise?
The app, the new. Sorry?
Contract-wise, from a contract perspective?
Yeah, there was 100 rand difference. For example, what I would get for an iPhone, in terms of data and all that stuff was exactly the same. And pretty much the specs of both phones were the same. It was just 100 rand difference. Obviously, iPhone being a little bit more expensive, but really, I mean, if you're gonna pay monthly for a phone, are you really gonna skimp on 100 rand? I don't know. For me, for someone to say, "Oh, Samsung phones are cheaper," then you gotta look at it from a when you buy it once off. If you were to buy it cash, right? So yes, in some instances there is a 2,000 rand difference or 1,000 rand difference or whatever. But in the greater scheme of things, that's actually not that cheap. iPhones or smartphones, whether they're if they're new, okay, so like the latest Samsung, the latest iPhone, are gonna be expensive regardless. Yes, one will be a little bit cheaper, but they're still expensive. I mean, both of them are hitting the fucking 10,000s now, you know? Both of them.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
you're
expensive
talking
phones.
almost closer to 20,000 rand, yeah. Especially if
Exactly.
you have like a 512 gig version or something.
Exactly. When it comes cheaper is like the older versions, right? So the Samsung, for example, will be much cheaper maybe for like an older version Samsung to its equivalent iPhone version. But that to me just sounds like, well, you're putting a Mercedes against a Hyundai. A Mercedes car always holds its value very well in the market rather than a Hyundai will hold its value. A Hyundai will hold its value well as well, but obviously it's a Mercedes. So when people
Yeah.
start debating me about the price, right? I always say, well, here's the thing. If you want a Mercedes, you're going to pay for a Mercedes. And yes, everybody wants a Mercedes, and not everyone can afford a Mercedes. I get that. I don't mean to sound snobby or whatever. But here's the thing. Yanni, you know, and I'm not shy to admit this, I'm not rich. Okay? I'm not like this mega millionaire or anything like that. Okay? I'm like struggling just as much as everybody else, but I'm still able to afford a decent iPhone. I don't go at the latest iPhone. I'll admit that because that's just too expensive. But same with the Samsung.
But
When
I
the new
want to touch on
Samsung
that
comes
point
out,
though.
it's also too expensive. I'll tell you now. I'll let you know. So, like for me, there when you go and get the like those people that get the latest phone all the time, every 6 months, that's just crazy. I don't even think that's a smart move because most of the time, if you get like, okay, so I'll give you a good example. So iPhone 11 came out. I went for the iPhone XR, which is for me has been one of the best iPhones I've ever had. The battery life is superb. It's fast, great resolution, great camera. Everything about this phone is amazing, especially the battery life. It's the best battery life so far from what I've experienced. I've had it now for almost a year. Um, and I haven't looked back. And it wasn't crazy expensive because the new iPhone was being released. But I still got an iPhone that is decent, that can still run the newest operating system, doesn't struggle. I have all the updated apps. I have everything I need. It's powerful, big screen. Yeah. And I didn't have to get that new iPhone 11 that has like 3 cameras at the back and all that stuff. Like that to me is just like I'll get the iPhone 11 when the iPhone 12 comes out. Like that's how I operate. But that's
Yeah.
just me. Now you can say what you wanted to say.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's fine, Joe. And this is my thing with the Apple hardware though. The Apple, two things about Apple. It's one of the things before we go on to Apple. There's one of the things that I liked about the Android One concept. There's something I didn't mention is Android One guarantees that particular device. So a device that subscribes to Android One, like in this case the Nokia 2.4, the device that I have here. Nokia guarantees this device to have 2 years worth of Android upgrades. Now there's an asterisk to that. I want to mention that. And also 3 years worth of security updates. So kind of 2 years worth of upgrades, which include your security upgrades every month, and then an additional year worth of security upgrades. So you basically get all the security updates right before the third version of the OS comes out. So in this case, the Nokia 2.4, which this device is shipped with Android 10, is going to have Android 10 and Android 11 updates basically, and then everything up until Android 12 comes out. So for the first time, I have an Android phone that's got guaranteed updates at least 3 years. And I know I'm going to get my updates regularly, because one of the biggest issues we've had today is that if you are chasing that new version of the OS coming out, and like when Android releases, let's say new Android 11, all these Galaxy smartphones out there, S20s and S20 Ultras and those fancy phones we went on board, they don't have Android 11 yet. Because what needs to happen is Samsung takes that OS, they go and retrofit all of their what do they call it, UI 2.0 or 2.5 or whatever they have now. They go and retrofit all of these things on top of it. They go and Samsungify it, and then you get your update. So yeah, maybe you get it 6 months later, and then you get this new version, this new experience. But you also don't guarantee get those monthly updates, whatever, on the OS that's coming out. Maybe Samsung's a little bit better with it now, but there's no guarantee to these things. And we're only talking about Samsung, but there's Motorola, there's LG, there's a couple of other hardware vendors as well, or phone vendors that's making phones. With the Android One platforms, every month there's an update. You're going to get that, so you're always on the latest security update for it, and you're going to get guaranteed at least 2 OS upgrades. Now that's great, but our phones we typically use for 2 years, 18 months to 2 years. Then your phone starts giving issues, and then you're waiting for your upgrade, and you can't wait for your upgrade, and then you're going to get the new phone. That's great if you're the only user of that phone. You don't hand it down to anybody, and you get that new phone every 2 years, and perfect. I'm happy with that. When you start handing that phone down to somebody, right? And we don't worry about these things. We don't worry about security. We don't worry about is the phone being updated? Is my child, my parent, or whoever you're giving this phone to, my wife, whatever, is their data being secure? We just never really cared about some of these things. And this is where I still have a bit of a problem with some of the devices. Android One is making a really good attempt, obviously, at guaranteeing some updates. But Apple, iOS 14 got released, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And iOS 14 is still guaranteed to run on devices that dates back to 2015, which is the iPhone 6S. And even...
Keep talking.
Yeah, sure. And even the SE models, which is, like the XR that you just said now. So the XR, I think, kind of like replaces the XE models now, the SE models now, which is Apple's budget or, level phone at the time. So that for me is nice. You still have a phone now that I can use for 2 years. I can hand over to somebody, they use it for 2 years or 3 years, and I'm guaranteed with software updates. So that's something that I really hope Android's going to work towards. The challenge, though, is and this is the best thing that I think Android could have done, is start this Android One program, is where you get a hardware vendor to subscribe to a hardware standard, whereby there is no third-party intervention by the hardware vendor, like in this case Nokia, to make this software work. Because as soon as Apple releases an update, I'm guaranteed to get this. So that's something that I really, really like about it. The closest we've ever gotten to this has been the Google Pixel devices. Google Pixel has always been really that raw device experience or raw Android experience, with the exception that Google Pixel had 1 or 2 Pixel apps, like Pixel Camera and something else. But that's been the closest you could get to getting that native Android experience and getting those guaranteed updates. But we don't get Pixel devices in South Africa, and there's a lot of talk around why, and it's really because of that market share. Samsung has a massive market share in South Africa. I really hope Nokia will make a bit of a comeback in that space, because the Nokia hardware, I think, is bulletproof hardware and has been bulletproof since their days of being sold to Microsoft, being split away and sold off again. I'm glad they're entering the mobile space. It's devices that I really like, but you can't get away from Samsung being that mainstream Android device. And I mean, I say that because try and walk into any cell phone shop, cell phone store, whatever, and go and buy a cover for a phone. Nokia knew this was going to be a problem, so this phone shipped with a cover. Great. So this phone has a cover, so you know what, you don't have to worry about that. But if you wanted a different cover, I shopped around in 1 or 2 shops and I couldn't get a different cover for it. So, I don't know. Maybe the phone's a little new. The 2.4 did replace the 2.3, so it is a little newer phone, but I don't know. Samsung still kind of like hogs that market. It's definitely the leader when it comes to the Android platform and brand in the mobile space.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point. The longevity and lifespan of a phone, I feel, is also important. And I'm going to get to that in just a moment and give my 2 cents on that. But first, I just want to say, because he pointed it out, Christo saying, oh my God, sick Mike, Joe Emilio. I'm probably late to the party. You are late to the party. However, this was all possible because of the man sitting to my left. So we are going to release a video about how we created this. I promise I'm getting there. Man. Sorry, guys. I seem to be having some interesting problems with Epoch, dude.
Mac.
I think... No, it's not Mac. It's this thing.
No, I'm teasing,
Definitely
guys.
not this.
Joe was fine until he met me, and then I introduced change into his life.
Yeah.
Sorry,
no, it's fine. We're working on it, so this is going to be resolved pretty soon, hopefully. I think it's the hub. Anyway, so let me get to, let's see. Okay, so it's Juicy Joe. Here's my Kyle now coming in. Oh, whatever. Anyway,
I did spot 2 questions in chat. Sorry, Joe. So us three. Okay, cool. Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to give my 2 cents very quickly about the longevity thing. So for me, I have, and this is like what I wanted to like, to your point, right? And one of the reasons why I like iPhone, okay, and why I prefer them. And this is also something you should think about, like, for people out there that are wondering what to get, or, you know, when it comes to the whole money aspect of it. In a way, when you invest money, think of it like that. If it's an investment, you're going to get your return on investment. Because I have the iPhone 7, okay? I also have this phone. I'm waiting for it to appear. Oh, I got disconnected again. Sorry, guys. It's never been this bad.
I think it's because you also had 2 streams back to back now. Yeah, I think you've had this with 2 streams back to back.
No. All right, so I have the iPhone 7. It's the red edition. It's disconnected again. Okay, I'm just going to switch over to my main laptop screen because I can't anymore. I don't know why this is happening. All right, there we go. Cool. So I'm back. Okay, so I have, once again, iPhone 7. I brought up iPhone 7 when it was released. It was released in September 2016. That's 4 years ago. Still getting all the updates. Hasn't been discontinued by Apple. I'll be honest, the battery has become a little bit shit, but it is one of the phones that you can take it into Apple and get a new battery. So that is an option if you are so inclined, which I might do, because honestly, other than the battery, it works phenomenally well. It's still fast. Fingerprints, like, I always know how to judge because with the fingerprints thing, right? With the old iPhones, when they were getting really old, the fingerprint took forever to recognize. This is still quite fast. That's a quick response for me. iPhone 4, it was slower. Or iPhone 5, I think, when it was new. So for me, in closing, in terms of return on investment, like, I could probably sell this phone and still get at least half of what I put in. So for me,
but it's still a usable device. That's the thing. The point you made around the battery is good. So I think everything up until the iPhone X or the iPhone 10, batteries you can actually even replace at like WeFix or whatever. So you don't even have to go the original Apple battery. You can even go an aftermarket battery, and the hardware will be fine with it. From iPhone X, it wants an original Apple battery, and if you don't, the phone kind of like complains about it. So that is something to note. And then that's something that I have a real big issue with on the iPhone 12, is that the device is no longer serviceable, if that's the right word, by these vendors and stuff. So if your phone screen cracks or your battery needs replacement or whatever, that's not something that they replace. You kind of like get a new device. And I had a discussion with my dad around that over the weekend, and he said, you know what, this is the first time where he thinks like, you now have to have like replacement insurance on your phone. If your phone something happens with, you need to kind of like replace the whole phone. So And that for me is bad. I don't know
It is
why
bad.
Apple would do that. So, and I hope it's something that's not going to be an issue in the iPhone 13, but that's still a year away because Apple typically releases these devices around about the September time when the new iOS comes out, because kind of like the iOS release and the hardware release is coincides obviously with the OS using some of the new native features in the hardware. So yeah, so just if I can jump back, sorry Joe, there was a question I think R3ZA and Mr. Eleutheria had it around the Pixel devices. No, I haven't used a Pixel device. Obviously, we don't get them in South Africa. I know I can import it or something. But that for me has always been a Android device that I would have just liked to have, because I thought at the time that was going to be the closest Android device that'll give me this experience around having constant security, constant software updates and OS updates, and having that unbloated experience on an Android phone. And the Pixel hardware is really nice hardware. I mean, I never had an issue with the Pixel hardware. I actually even liked the Huawei phones, but then May of 2019 happened, and well, actually, it was a little bit before that, but. Yeah, so no, I have not used a Pixel. I would love to have a Pixel though. Even now, the new Pixel, is it the Pixel S or something? That's a really nice device.
All right, so I think very quickly we should talk about the giveaway before time runs out. We're already over the halfway mark. So for those of you who are tuned in, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. May I quickly also remind everyone that is watching, please, this is if you're watching this, please subscribe. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to give a like as well. And you can become a member for as little as 10 Rand a month. Yes, that's true. And if you want me to see some, or if you want us to see your comments or questions, please consider giving a super chat. You also support this channel by doing so, and your question or comment will be highlighted, and we, by YouTube law, have to address it. Then, of course, if you want, you can join my Telegram group, or my Telegram channel, rather, to get all the updates of upcoming streams. If you want to, you can also follow me on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Yes, I'm on TikTok, whether you like it or not. Okay, so now that that's done with, let's talk about the giveaway. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever on this channel, yes, we, Jannie and I, are going to be giving away a phone. Now I'm going to put Jannie on full screen here. And Jannie, at drum roll, show us the phone. It's a Nokia 2.4. And look at that, shiny and brand new right out of the box. Jannie, please guarantee our viewers that it has barely been used.
Yeah, so guys, I used this phone for about 3 to 4 days, of which 2 days was active use, 3 days was active use, and about 2-3 days was side-by-side use, because I had to back up and restore my phone. And if you're an IT, for the guys that know, you have multi-factor authentication and your internet banking and everything on these devices. So I needed to take my time to just carry everything across again. So I can talk about why I chose the 2.4. I think the Nokia 2.4 as a entry level to medium range phone for me, I would put it at the lower end of medium range. This is by no means a Galaxy S20 or something, guys. It is some slightly lower end hardware, but I think this is one of the best budget devices out there today. I think, Joe, it's like 2,500 Rand phone. And there is a slightly more expensive version that has 3 gig RAM. This one only has 2 gig RAM. It has biometric sensor, as Joe's got it up there on the screen. It's got a 13 megapixel and a 2 megapixel camera. It's got quite a nice 6.5-inch screen. So compared to my iPhone 10, it is quite the same size as like an iPhone 10, almost slightly a little bit longer. So I chose this device because I was keen to really test it. I was keen to test the Android One device, and I was keen to test something that I think would be would be a worthwhile phone to use. So, yeah, I had a good experience with the phone. It takes a memory card. It also takes 2 SIM cards, Joe. So that was something that's really cool about this phone for me. So if you guys have 2 SIM cards, if you have a data SIM or a work and a private SIM or something, you have the ability to switch between the 2 SIMs. You can tell which apps uses which SIM, etc. It does it quite intuitively and natively through the operating system. So I think it's really cool. And yeah. So we want to give this phone away. I think, Joe, I don't know if you want to tell our viewers how and what we need to do, what they need to do. Obviously, I'm not eligible. And before we go to that, sorry, Joe. So, guys, yes, the phone was used for about 4 days. It's undamaged, not dropped, unscratched, whatever. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. I promise you that. And yeah, sorry, Joe, back to you.
No worries. Look, guys, it's a free phone, and this does come with a few T's and C's. And the T's and C's are as follows, all right? One, and probably the most important one, is in order to be eligible to get this phone, you need to create a video and tag the show. So me, you can tag me on Facebook, only on Facebook. So if you do this on Instagram or Twitter, we're not going to count it. We're just trying to make this as simple as possible. So on Facebook, you need to tag me, Joe Emilio, or The Joe Show, preferably both. And then you also need to use a few hashtags. I'll get into those details. But the video needs to explain why you deserve the phone. And we're not going to go into much detail about that. We want you guys to be honest. Why do you feel you deserve the phone? And the person who we feel is authentic and has a nice story to tell and explains in honest truth why they need the phone, that's the person that's going to win. We're probably going to choose 2 people. I'll choose 2 people. Jannie will choose 2 people. And then we'll decide from there. So once again, you need to make a video. Once you've made that video, you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel, this one, The Joe Show. You need to like this video, this specific stream. You need to share this specific stream. Then you need to tag Joe Emilio on Facebook with a screenshot proving that you've done the steps and telling us the phone. Use the hashtags The Joe Show and Nokia giveaway so we can find your videos easily. Jannie, when are we going to announce the winner? Should we give it about a month?
So a month is the 1st of January. Do you want to do it before Christmas? 2 weeks? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, before Christmas. That's a good idea. Yeah, 2 weeks. We'll do it at the next... We'll announce the winner at the next Tech Tuesday. That's what we'll do.
So the 15th. So entries needs to be in by then Sunday the 13th or Monday the 14th.
Yeah. The brew, in case it wasn't clear, that's exactly what we're doing. Maybe I wasn't clear enough in explaining that, but when you tell the story, we're hoping we'll give it to someone who really needs a phone. That's why you got to tell us why you need a phone, why you deserve to have this phone. So yeah, if you can do that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Yes, I will give you Daniel buy a new one. Jannie and I polished that beautiful bottle a few weeks ago.
Oh, was that his Jack Daniels?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I told you it was a donor of the channel, but now you know.
Oh, I didn't know.
All right, so Tech Tuesday, the next Tech Tuesday, which will be on
the 15th.
The 15th. Thank you. I'm gonna sneeze.
Is that your sneeze face?
It went away. Okay, so and Mikhail saying, can't we donate to Joe? He needs to stop using Apple. No, never. Okay, so that's what you need to do. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to this channel, like this video, this specific live stream, share this specific live stream. All you need to screenshot is just that you've subscribed to the channel, because obviously we'll be able to see who that there's likes and that you've shared it. And then tag, make a video explaining why you deserve the phone. Tag Joe Emilio and use the hashtags the Joe Show Nokia giveaway. I'll probably do a Facebook post about this tomorrow, and maybe clipping this video as well. But yeah, so there you go. 2 weeks. If you guys want a phone, there you go. And it's a good phone. Look, it's a good phone. It's a phone.
There's nothing
guys.
wrong with the phone. It's not a Samsung Galaxy S20, like I say. I mean, there is 18,000 Rand difference or 16,000 Rand difference between these two devices. But I think it's still a very nice phone, very good hardware, decent hardware as compared to, and I saw some comments in chat around the cheaper Chinese Android alternatives. Like those ones I would stay away from. You know, something that's like a real no-name brand phone. I would start getting worried about some of that. Joe, can we jump to Huawei a bit? I think I do want to address something on a Huawei, if I can just give a little bit of advice on that.
Hold on. Can we make a video as to why we think someone else deserves the phone, Jannie?
Yeah, I think we can. That would typically, like you said, Joe, is we would be looking for, you know, why somebody needs the phone. It's maybe they needed to give it away and make somebody else's day. You know what? And that's something that will make me happy, because, you know, one thing that I hate is when tech lies in the drawer somewhere and there's somebody else that can use it. So definitely Mr. Eleutherio.
Cool. All right. Well,
but feel free, guys, to make any video. Maybe you want to be starting a YouTube channel and you want to vlog or something. I mean, whichever.
Yeah.
Your reason's your reason.
Exactly. Cool. All right. So what did you want to say about Huawei?
So let's touch on Huawei quick. Huawei. Yeah, that one. The one with the H. So, you know what? Up until 2019, and whatever happened in 2019, the ban due to Mr. Trump or President Trump, I think Huawei was really good hardware. You could really see that, you know, they were well positioned in the market in terms of like the performance, the durability and quality of the devices, etc. Their cameras for me was really, really good. And yeah, I think they were consistently delivering devices in the market. And I really, really liked Huawei. But then there was that, you know, part where they had some shady business practices, if we can leave it at that. And that called for the US to call a ban on Huawei and a few other Chinese companies, and they were added to this thing called an entity list. And essentially what that means is that companies that was on this entity list wasn't allowed to deal with companies within the US. So that kind of like, you know, the big ones is like Google, Qualcomm, who's a chip, you know, a processor maker, Intel, and a few other companies. And that kind of like shook the market a little bit. I know there was that 90-day reprieve, and there was a couple of extensions to that. And during that time, it was figured out around how the US was going to be dealing with this. And I think that kind of like meant that the real impact of what Huawei was feeling only kind of like happened sometime this year, because they extended that thing a few times. But I think it kind of like kicked in somewhere in March or April this year. And I know that there is some things where the US doesn't allow some of Huawei's, you know, equipment being used. Now, let's also say Huawei doesn't just make phones. They make a lot of telecommunications equipment. And I think one of their biggest competitions in the market is probably like Ericsson or somebody that, you know, also makes a lot of telecommunications equipment. So it's not just about the phones. But in this case, what this meant is that Google honored what the US president said, and that they kind of like broke ties with with Huawei and allowing Huawei to use the Google products. Now, what that meant is that Google could no longer use the Android operating system that was released by Google, which is, essentially what this version is based on, the raw version that these device manufacturers and hardware manufacturers then take and work to, work into their hardware. And they also lost the access, especially the Google Play services, which allowed the integration for like Play Store, Google Maps, Gmail, YouTube, etc. So how Huawei's responded to that is they were obviously allowed to use the Android open source version, which is the free to use version that everybody can use without any cost. And what that means is now a lot of the features that's integral to the Android operating system is now no longer included because it's no longer the pure Android version. It is this open source version. So like I say, none of these Google services are on there anymore. So if you were used to an Android phone and you now switch to a Huawei phone with what they now call the Harmony OS, which I think they might eventually just call the Huawei OS or something. But this Harmony OS kind of like looks and feels like Android, and it works like Android, but it's not Android to the core. Well, it's Android to the core, yes, but not Android compared to the Android we know on the other devices. So, and Huawei is spending millions to get app developers to port their applications to what's called the Huawei App Gallery, which is essentially the equivalent of the Google Play Store. So my advice to people is like, guys, not that I don't like Android or whatever, you know how I feel about this. I wouldn't mind having one of the newer Android devices, etc., especially if it's one of the higher end devices that compares in terms of performance to my Apple device. But the new Huawei P30, P40s, which essentially now releases with Harmony OS, it's not a device that I would recommend somebody to have. If you care about app integration, having access to a lot of the Google Play services, etc., you're not going to have a great experience with it. Maybe in a year or two this changes. There's better integration with things, etc. But even trying to sideload some of the Google apps might not work because you don't have the Google Play services. So it's not going to be the best experience. I do see a comment from JP Rousseau saying it's got a 2020 P30 Lite. And that's right, JP. So the real, like I said, the real impact for Huawei was really only realized this year when that reprieve was no longer extended and kind of like Huawei had to feel what it was like. So there is a cutoff period somewhere between the P30 and the P40 devices that you don't have the full Google experience anymore. So while you have the full Google experience, I mean, it's not a bad phone. You're going to be subject to the exact same challenges on any other Android phone that there is because of updates, etc. But the ones where you don't have the Play Store anymore and you're dealing with the app gallery and stuff, you're going to have a slightly harder experience. It's not going to be as much fun. But while it's still a Google device, there's nothing wrong with the hardware. It was really good hardware in my opinion. It's just sad that it's...
Look, this just all sounds very complicated. This one doesn't have Google. That one has Google. This one... Just get an iOS iPhone. It simplifies everything. It really does. There's none of this you're illegal now and no, you can't trade and blah, 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 and you're on a list. No, Apple doesn't have any of that.
I know.
So screw you, Android. I don't know. I think during this conversation, yes, you have given credit to Android quite a lot. I'll give you that. And yes, Google is a dominating factor with Android and should be. A lot of people, I mean, even Mr. Eleutheria says that he uses Google a lot. So it's a big factor. But you can use Google on your iPhone as well, just by the way, and still integrates very well. So look, I know iPhone is expensive, but in my opinion, in some cases, it is worth the money. You just got to be smart. You got to be smart with the iPhone that you buy. I do agree that some iPhones, like for example, what was it? I think when I was looking for iPhone 7, right? When I bought the iPhone 7, there was at the time iPhone 8 and I think iPhone 10 had just come out. Like I remember iPhone 7, iPhone 8, and iPhone 10. It was like that year when all of a sudden there was like a lot of phones out for like we were like, what? Did they skip 9? And it was like weird. And I was like, okay, let me compare those three phones. iPhone 10 had a lot of cool things going for it, but it was way too expensive because it was iPhone 10. iPhone 8 and iPhone 7, the only difference really was the wireless charging. Other than that, a lot of reviews said the iPhone 7 was actually better. So I went with iPhone 7. And I won because it was cheaper. So
Yeah.
you just got to be smart. Find the phone that you're comfortable with and choose an iPhone because they'll never fail you. That's the thing. The
Joe,
Androids, they're finicky. They got, Google's a problem now. Why? Um, I'm kidding. I know it's Huawei in their shit.
but on that,
All I'm saying is, look, I'm not done. I'm always, I'm always gonna advocate for iPhone. I'm sorry, but I'll be honest. I was a Nokia guy before I went to iPhone. Just by the way, I had a Samsung once upon a time. And here's the thing with what I don't like about Samsung specifically. Maybe Huawei is good. I had a Huawei once. It was all right. Not gonna disagree with that. My thing with Samsung is that there's too much on the phone, too much stuff that drains its battery. You can like hold the phone up and like put your hand like this, and then it does some magical shit that you'd never use because you only use it at the beginning because it's like really cool. And then like after a while you realize it drains your battery, so you switch that function off. You don't use half of the crap that Samsung offers you. You really don't. Maybe in the first 2 weeks you do, but that's about it. So why have it at all? Apple keeps it simple. It keeps it simple. You can look at the phone, it opens up, you make calls, you have all the apps that you're ever going to need. And by the way, before we get into this other conversation about music, all right, because that's always the thing. Like, oh, you can't get music on an Apple. Bull. I have been downloading. I probably shouldn't admit this on a live stream, but I've been downloading music for a very, very long time. And I have all my music on my iPhone, on my iPad, on my computer. No problem, guys. So you can get music on your Apple devices, no problem. If you don't know how, email me. I'll show you how to do it. It's really easy. Other than that, Apple for the win. Hands down, mic drop. Thank you very much. Good night.
okay. So, no, dude, it's your opinion. And I agree to some point on some of the stuff. The Apple for the win. But I see your comment. I wanted to touch on that. So thanks for mentioning that. Thanks for reminding me. So real quick, Joe, for a good 4 or 5 years, a big part of my job at my previous company was to deal with mobile devices and deal with the mobile device standards for our organization. And I walked around with an HTC Windows Mobile 6.5 device, an iPhone 3GS, a BlackBerry, I think it was a Storm 1 or a Storm 2 at the time, and one of the entry-level HTCs. I think it was a Dream. I can't remember. So I had one of all the devices. So I've been there. I've carried 4 phones. I knew exactly everything between all the 4 phones. And for a good 4 or 5 years of my life, that's all I cared about, was giving the absolute best advice to tailor my recommendation to why you need whichever one of these two. But that was also at a time where applications wasn't as cross-platform as it is today. Because nowadays the apps kind of just works across everything. Facebook, YouTube, whatever you're using for notes, whatever you're using for music. If you're subscribing to the Apple Music service or the Google, the YouTube Premium subscription that gives you Google Play or Google Music on your iPhone, it kind of just works across all of these devices now. And that's something that I think is really awesome, that you can have that, unified experience across all of your devices when it comes to some of the apps and some of these online services. I think that is really great. I do want to touch on the point that was it Ice that mentioned it? Who mentioned it? Somebody mentioned something about Batterygate. It was Ice. So for the guys that don't know what Batterygate is, that is something that Apple was accused of and admitted to. slowing down the older devices to artificially introduce, performance issues that kind of like force people to buy newer phones and whatever. And Apple has paid their fine. It was like 20 something million or whatever, or billion. No, not billion, million. But doesn't matter. It was like an insane amount of money. They explained why, and I kind of believe that is that they are saying on the older generation hardware, when the device started having performance issues, that they would, slow it down, and it kind of like advises the user that there's performance management is turned on this device. So it tells you that it's being slowed down. So agreed. Let's not forget about it. But also I know of, and joke, and obviously also, with an iPhone 7 device, you are not experiencing performance issues to the degree that I think the internet made it out to be. I've not got specific experience with like the oldest of the oldest hardware at the time, and this is something that got introduced in 2017. So we are talking about like our iOS 10, iOS 11 somewhere. So we're now on iOS 14, sorry. So yeah, bad Apple, not good for doing that. Good that they explained why they're doing it and everything. So I do believe it's something that's built into the device from a protection perspective, especially if there is hardware issues or something that it needs to invoke performance management. But yeah, thanks for.
Lasts longer than an Android.
It does.
Still
at least
lasts longer than an Android.
But yeah.
All right, so I think we put this matter to bed. Apple for the win. Thank you very much. That's all I hear from Jannie. He's trying his best to be scientific about this, but it is Apple. Okay. Yes, the pizza. Whoa, I almost said something else.
I know what you were going to say. No, Joe, bad Joe.
Batterygate, wow, is and was a problem. I agree with the iPhone 7. Look, I did mention that the battery is terrible at the moment.
The device is 4 years old, but like,
yes,
it's okay if the battery needs replacement.
Yeah, so those things need to also be taken into consideration. But however, it freaking runs, and it runs well. Yeah, I stopped myself, Ice. All right, so very quickly, let me repeat again the giveaway. All right, so I'm going to put up the thingy here. This is what we're giving away, ladies and gentlemen, is a Nokia. It is a Nokia 2.4. Thank you. With
it's
Android.
Written big there in the heading. Say.
It's got 2 days battery life. It's got a very big screen, as Jannie pointed out. It's got its fingerprint at the back of the phone. It's got a strong finish, so it's got it's got Android One on it. And yeah, it's like Jannie said, it is a decent phone. It is definitely something that for an entry level or above entry level, that someone is going to be very happy with. Maybe your child needs a phone, not child, but maybe I don't know, like Jannie said, someone who wants to vlog wants the phone, extra phone for business. It's got dual SIM card. You can even take a memory card. So it's a pretty decent phone, right? Its original price is 2,500 Rand. So, I mean, for some people, that's quite expensive. So, you can give this to your friend who needs a phone or whatever. So all you have to do, once again, ladies and gentlemen, is, and I'm seeing a lot of people, well, not a lot, but a few people are getting confused with what they need to do. It's simple. Make a video explaining why you deserve the phone. And that's very key. You need to explain why you or someone you know of deserves the phone. Okay? Short. Make it like 30 seconds or something. It doesn't have to be, don't tell me about how, you're daughter was doing a TikTok and the phone fell in the toilet, and now you put it in rice for 5 days and the phone's still not working. And then when you thought it was working, you tried to take it to a repair shop, but it fell 5 times on the way, and then it got run over by a car, and then a dog shat on it. I don't care. All right. Just explain why, very briefly, you need a phone, or someone you know needs a phone. That's number one. Then when you do the post, I see some people getting confused with the post thing on Facebook. So you got to tag me, Joe Emilio. Let me put that banner up as well. You got to tag me, Joe Emilio. Okay. You have to subscribe to my channel. You have to like this video, this stream. Okay. You have to share this stream. It's very important. And you need to subscribe to my channel. If you're already subscribed, that's one of the things done. You still have to like and share. Okay. Also, in terms of the screenshots, okay, you know what? I'm just going to trust that you did everything. This is the first giveaway we're doing. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I'm just going to trust that you did everything. Okay. As long as you've done those things, you've tagged me on Facebook, you use the hashtags, the Joe Show and the Nokia giveaway, I'll trust you that you are subscribed and you liked the video and you shared the video. I mean, I'll see that you liked it. I'll see that you shared. I think I'll definitely see that you shared the video at least. So that's good enough for me. Just share, like the video, subscribe, anything. Just do the video, post it on Facebook, explain why you deserve, or someone you know deserves the phone, and those steps that you see on the screen. That should be good enough, I think. That should be fair. And then in 2 weeks, on the 15th of December, 10 days before Christmas, maybe, just maybe, you'll be offering a Christmas present to someone, or maybe you'll be getting a Christmas present yourself. Who knows? From the Joe Show. I don't know if this is going to be the first or last. Sorry, I don't know if this is going to be the last time we're going to do a giveaway. I doubt it. Would be cool to eventually give away an iPhone. But I will speak to Apple.
An iPhone 5.
iPhone 5. No, I'm going to, as this channel grows, this is why we need the subs. As this channel grows, hopefully one day, maybe Samsung or, no, fuck Samsung, Apple will approach this channel and say, hey, we got a new iPhone coming out, I mean, we do Tech Tuesday. It makes sense, right? So, yeah. It would be so cool if we could review one of the new phones. That'd be so cool. And then we give it away.
Unboxing and review.
Yeah. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what to do. I hope that clears everything up. I really can't make it any simpler than that. Subscribe, like this video, share this video, tag me on Facebook, Joe Emilio, all right, and use the hashtags The Joe Show, Nokia giveaway, in a video post where you explain why you deserve the phone or someone else deserves the phone. It's that simple, all right? And then you might be walking away with a Nokia 2.4, all right? Apparently featured in No Time to Die 007. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Jannie, I think in closing, we said a lot. I also think that we put a big debate to rest. iPhone for the win.
Yeah, we did say a lot. We didn't cover half of the stuff I thought we were going to cover.
We can always have a part 2. Well, maybe we can
good.
continue. We can continue the conversation in the next one.
I mean,
if you want.
the portions that we didn't really cover was more just around the security and kind of just leading in a bit more detail. But I think maybe, Joe, from my side to close off, guys, I think at the moment, if you have one of the later Android devices or even an Apple device, for me, that argument that Apple is safer than Android, I don't think is there anymore. I think both hardware vendors and software vendors from this, in both respects, have done quite a lot to improve the security of mobile devices, especially because we're living in a world where cyber criminals aren't no longer or aren't anymore focusing only on laptops and desktops and whatever. They are focusing on even mobile devices and the stuff that we access. So I think to leave it in closing, guys, something that we didn't touch on and I wanted to have as a disclaimer is I didn't want to talk about jailbreaking devices and rooting devices. So jailbreaking is something that you do to circumvent the security on an Apple device, and rooting is something you do to circumvent the security on an Android device to allow you to run apps that you should be paying for and whatever. I don't condone that type of stuff, and 99% of the users out there don't really know what that means from a security perspective on their device and what risks it would put them onto. So I think to leave it at that, guys, doesn't matter what device you use, always be sure that you are not social engineered and ask for passwords and click on stuff you shouldn't be clicking on and installing apps that's questionable from a non-Google Play Store or a non-Apple Store source. And if you do those basic things, you know what, these mobile devices for me in both cases I think are pretty good. We as end users end to do stupid stuff, and then that tends to leak information that shouldn't or something. So I think I'll leave it there.
Cool. And also for me in closing, you know what, I'll be honest, I think that at the end of the day it depends on who you are as a person. Much like some people just like Mercedeses, some people just like BMW, some people just like Hyundai, and some people just like Audi. It's the same with all the Apple devices. Sorry, all the mobile devices on the market. You're either a Nokia person, a Samsung person, an iPhone person, a Motorola person, a Sony person. And you know what? That's your right. If you have no complaints with either of those devices, and either one or whichever one works well with you, then good for you. Keep supporting the brands that you like. I think in this day and age right now, all phones are sufficiently, like most phones are really good. Like most of them. Even this Nokia one that we're giving away, it's really damn good, So yeah. But personally, I'm an iPhone guy. I'm an Apple guy. I know it's going to be one. There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been a very nice, interesting conversation. Thank you so much, Jannie, once again for joining me on Tech Tuesday. It's a great show, man. I'm really enjoying this. What are we? I don't know what we're talking about next, but we'll announce it, and in 2 weeks we'll also announce the winner of a Nokia 2.4. Also, forgot to mention this. Very important. Very important. Only South Africans can, and when I say people living in South Africa, only people living in South Africa can enter this competition. That's very important. We're not shipping to the US. You have better phones anyway. So, only people in South Africa can enter this competition. Okay. We'll ship anywhere nationwide. Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, Jannie, don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning in. I will be back. I actually don't know. I might have a stream on Thursday. I don't know yet. We'll see. Haven't announced anything yet. Other than that, I will be covering the march, the Cape Independence March on Saturday. So please, set a reminder for that. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, if I don't see you then or before then, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.
Cheers.